I just realised. I don't think you're this... We'll go with it. I have been editing a video for next week and have made the embarrassing discovery that I may have deleted a couple of clips, and no, there isn't any chance I can re-record them because one I believe was from November. But that's what happens when I film so far in advance. It's fine, I have grown accustomed to the idea, but when I made that discovery I was feeling a bit restless. I had just gone through a video that I had already edited and cutting bits out again and thought I need to get out of this house, so I went for a walk down the canal and I was gone for over an hour. In doing that, I've been through this before. I have talked about my issues with my hips before, but for some reason my left hip does not like uneven ground, and there had been rain, and for whatever reason my left hip decided, no, we don't like this, and after about I'd say about 40 minutes into the walk it decided, no, I'm not here for this, and decided to hurt. And I don't know how to fix it. I have the exercises physio gave me years ago. I have tried a few of those, but again, it's just painkillers and trying to... I never know how to explain it properly, because to me it always feels as though my hip is no longer connected to my body, so I don't feel as though I can tell if my leg's going to do what I want it to. With it makes no sense to anybody, but that's the only way I can think to explain it. Either way, then I thought, well, I'm going to take a bath when I get home, so that's what I did. And while I'm in the bath, I'm thinking about all the environmental issues from this one bath. Continue to read Free Decline, Blue Monday, Nicci French in the bath. Went downstairs, had a brew, made some tea, watched Doctor Who. I've had this tiny bit of a revelation about Doctor Who. One, I know I'm talking about a kid's show and I've been doing it for 3 weeks in a row now. Two, I did have an issue with this whole environmental educational thing. Three, I think there's actually been a lot of education in this show in the past, but because I wasn't an adult and it was being said in a certain way that was perhaps more dramatic than... It was more like a dramatic moment than like a sermon, that I didn't notice. I've decided that whilst it might irk me every week that there isn't a bloody monster or there isn't some real threat, these episodes could be so threatening. And yesterday, even though they'd split everyone up and there were some new cast members there who contributed quite well to the episode, I didn't feel like the main cast lost anything by these other cast members being there. However, there was one thing that I couldn't cope with in terms of characters and a character death, and how I can't help but feel like it was a major character death in terms of one character. It would have affected them quite deeply, and they seem to just gloss over it and get over that death rather quickly. But who am I to judge? So then once that was finished, watched a bit of YouTube, commented. If you want to see all the videos that I watched and didn't comment on, then you can go into my other folks videos playlist on my channel. I'll leave a link somewhere if I can figure out how to do that. Honestly, this whole linking lot, it's getting difficult. Like, I keep trying to figure out how to be professional about this. I got, as we know, Instagram started last week. Still don't get it. Putting filters on stuff thinking are filters professional? I don't know. I had my sister putting all the first pictures on, but now I can only do that when she's at home, and also I'm putting pictures of her dog on there. And I mean, I tag her in the pictures. Let's get back to talking about Free Decline, Blue Monday, Nicci French. As we know, Jen Campbell first shared her love of this series, then Lauren of Lauren and the Books did it, and now I'm here exalting this series too, because it's such a fast read. I am flying through the pages. I failed to notice how many pages I was getting through, and then I'd look down at the page number and I'd be thinking, how do we get here? I got past the climax, which was the part that I wanted to read because I was thinking that I wouldn't be able to sleep. Did I not find out how this book turned out? And then that happened, so now I'm just in the denouement. However, I thought I had 40 pages left to read because of the fact that it said 411 pages, and I didn't realise it had included a portion of the second book at the end of it. So I only have 25 pages left to read, and I've been reading about 3 pages a minute of this book. It makes you feel so much more accomplished. Which means that I will be finishing that tonight. I haven't kept up with Nevernight by Jay Kristoff that I'm reading with Abby of Abby Mac Reads. Personally, if I was reading this book and it wasn't a buddy read, I would be DNFing this book right now. I find it a bit too juvenile for my tastes. It's not for me. It's got its fans. I wouldn't go out of my way to read the sequels. That means that tonight, once I've finished Blue Monday, once I've had tea and everyone's gone to bed and I'm sat downstairs on the recliner, if I don't choose to watch the episode of Midsummer Murders I've got recorded, I will be continuing to read Such a Fun Age by Kiley, Reid. And I cannot talk about that book because it's a Booktube prize book. I did order my author copies of An Heir to Murder yesterday. I have 100 of them on the way. I also made the Kindle edition available for pre-order whilst failing to acknowledge the fact that the print edition is actually up for sale currently, and I'm trying to keep that a secret as long as I possibly can. I also had this horrible revelation on my walk that having spent as much money as I did spend... Oh, there's a worker here. Oh, someone's coming to donate. I think it's somebody who works upstairs, and he was wearing very baggy jeans. I don't understand baggy jeans, me. I don't get it. Why do you want to go around looking like you've just soiled yourself? So back to my startling revelation on the canal yesterday. I'm just coming over a bridge and I realised that how much money I've spent on my author copies and how much I'll make back. And I realised that to make my month's wage at work, I have to sell 100 copies a month, which is never going to happen. And next point, even if I sell all the copies I've just bought, I'm technically not making that much money. Writing is definitely a failing business. It's not the best business model in the world, is writing. I know I've got people out there screaming at me now, you don't need to buy physical copies, we can all download it on Kindle at no cost to you, we could buy it from Amazon at no cost to you. Actually, Amazon, you know, they take their fair amount of money. Bloody hell, Amazon. But this isn't the place for me to rant at Amazon again. We all know how I feel about them. If I were, also, next point, if I was feeling that bad about it, I would have worked harder to find another printer. I know, no need to shout at me, actually. The other printer I'd got in mind, I discovered online and got their quote, and their quote was much too expensive for what I asked for. And also, I then went and looked at the books they actually did create, and they had some really nice books on there from, you know, the first page, the home page of their website. But when you got down to it, the actual books that they had for sale weren't the nicest looking things in the world. That was 15 minutes of me rambling, and I want to go inside because my mouth's dry and I want a coffee. So I'll see you at some point. Yesterday at work, for whatever reason, my breathing decided to go incredibly weird, and despite taking my inhalers, it wasn't working. Last night I came home and I decided that I was going to continue to edit a video, therefore I didn't actually end up sitting down to read until about 10 o'clock. But I have now finished reading Blue Monday by Nicci French, as recommended by Jen Campbell and Lauren and the Books, and I've just seen that Mercedes of Mercy's Bookish Musings has included it in their most recent wrap-up, but I have yet to find out their thoughts because I wanted to give you mine. This series follows Frida Klein, a psychotherapist, and in this first book she ends up meeting a man named Alan. Alan is one of her patients, and he has started to have these very vivid dreams. And in one of these vivid dreams, he describes a young boy who happens to look exactly like a young boy who recently went missing. This ends up getting Frida embroiled in the case of this missing child and refers back to a child who went missing 20 years ago. I found this book incredibly pacey. I felt as though I was reading one of the Harry Hole books. It was a bit slow to get started. I felt as though it faffed around a bit, and if it didn't have the prologue involving a child going missing, then you'd wonder what you were lingering on for, because it's quite a long time in the book before both of these worlds collide. I accepted that because I enjoyed the writing and I did want that first mystery from the prologue resolved, so I'm guessing that it did its job. I will go on and continue to read the series. There is something that happens towards the end of the book that I found particularly predictable. I feel as though it was put in there to get the reader to read more books in the series. Again, this connection was also similar to the Jo Nesbø Harry Hole books, in that there are 3 books that I read last year that were connected by this recurrent criminal. And those books have like a very similar cast of characters. I enjoyed it for the most part. I will be going back and reading the series, but it isn't at the top of all the crime fiction I've ever read before, because not that it felt like a cosy crime, but it did feel more literary and soft as opposed to the other grittier thrillers that I have read previously. I liked Frida's character. She seemed quite independent, a bit cold, and I'd like to learn more about her and more about how she became the person that she is. I'd like to see where the stories of all these characters continue to go. So the book did its job, and I did forgive it a few of its things, that it was a bit more of a simple book because it was an introduction to the series. And as a reader going into discovering these new characters, you need to be introduced to the characters and you have to know that they're going to do their job, and there isn't a lot of space in a crime novel to do that. So I appreciate exactly what Nicci French was trying to do. As the first book in a series of crime thriller type books, then I think it did its job, and I will be going on to read the sequels. It wasn't like this mind-blowing thing, but it didn't have to be. I am still currently behind with my read of Nevernight that I am buddy reading with Abby of Abby Mac Reads, and I've been informed that this book has to be back in the library on Thursday, and there's no way I'll be finishing this copy by then, so it does mean that I'll be listening to the rest of this book on audiobook. I'm hoping to read some more of Such a Fun Age by Kiley Reid today. I've tried to read it twice this morning already, and both times I've been interrupted. Once by my sister's dog, Floss, who just wanted to play and throw a ball about, or just get fussed incessantly, and so I just didn't have the opportunity. I was sat there for over an hour, and then when I finally started reading it, my brother rang, but I can't give my thoughts on this book as it is a Booktube prize book. You'll find out at the end of March how I feel about this one. And then yesterday I got a bit of a bookish post, which is Riot Baby by Tochi Onyebuchi. This was one of the books on the list of books by black authors that were coming out this year. It's a lot shorter than I imagined it would be, and I'm going to read the blurb because originally I used to have this really big problem with reading blurbs. And then I realised there are some people who can do the job better than me, and that this blurb is what got me interested in the book, so it might get you interested in the book as well. Alla has a thing. She sees a classmate grow up to become a caring nurse, a neighbour's son murdered in a drive-by shooting, things that haven't happened yet. Kev, born while Los Angeles burned around them, wants to protect his sister from a power that could destroy her. But when Kev is incarcerated, Ella must decide what it means to watch her brother suffer while holding the ability to wreck cities in her hands. Rooted in the hope that can live in anger, Riot Baby is as much an intimate family story as a global dystopian narrative. It burns fearlessly towards revolution and has quietly devastating things to say about love, fury, and the Black American experience. Alla and Kev are both shockingly human and immeasurably powerful. Their childhoods are defined and destroyed by racism. Their futures might alter the world. As has been mentioned a lot on this channel, I discovered that I quite like books about family, this book is about family. There was something about Ella's thing, her ability, that reminded me of X-Men. I thought that this might be a bit like reading that. X-Men was one of my favourite things as a child, and therefore I thought that I had to read this. And also, you know, there was something about the writing style when I read the sample that I thought particularly compelling. So looking forward to this one. I originally got this to read the Blackathon, which I'm doing part and parcel with doing the books for the Booktube prize, which means I have a lot of reading to do this month. Alright, I might see you tomorrow. It's Wednesday. I awoke this morning with the intention of finishing Such a Fun Age by Kiley Reid, and that is exactly what I did. I can't say much about this book until all of the announcements for the Booktube prize have been made, but you can expect my thoughts on this one towards the end of March. That means that today I have to catch up with my reading of Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. Still buddy reading this with Abby of Abby Mac Reads. I believe she is enjoying it much more than I am. I've actually admitted it to her that had I been reading this book on my own, I would have DNF'd it, but I'm sticking with it simply because we are buddy reading it. I am reading it incredibly slowly. I have no urge to pick up this book. I'm being a terrible buddy to read a book with, but that's just how things are. I'm returning this to the library tomorrow and would then have to continue listening to the audiobook. It's just not for me. I think it reads like a fast-paced fantasy read, and years ago that would have been the thing that I liked, but I'm just not into this sort of thing anymore. For the Booktube prize, I might be starting The Dutch House by Anne Patchett today, but there are some other books that I wanted to read for Blackathon that might take priority, simply because I don't have to have announced my rankings of the Booktube prize books until the end of February, and I've already read half of them, so I only need to read another 3, and that's easily done in a week. So I might prioritise some Blackathon reading. I do want to read Patsy by Nicole Dennis-Benn. I also have some books that I showed to you last week, but we'll play that one by ear. Today marks 1 week until the release of An Heir to Murder, and the Macclesfield Express has included a story about me. I am not happy with it. We knew that I wouldn't be happy with it from the start when they rang me up and began to ask me questions related to my family, where I lived. After asking me what school I went to, they proceeded to put the incorrect name of my school in there. Over the course of the 7 years that I was at high school, we moved from one location to another, and there was a name change of the school then as well, so it became Macclesfield High School. Since then, it has changed its name again and become Macclesfield Academy. However, that never happened whilst I was there, and I didn't actually attend that school, so I don't understand why they're mentioning it, unless it was just for more publicity for a school that I didn't really attend for more than 3 years, because I was only there for my final GCSE year and my A-levels. It seems strange to include the names of my schools anyway. I don't need to go into this, but I'm not one of these people who dwells on those years of my life. Quite honestly, not my favourite years, not the favourite years for anybody. And so I just don't understand the necessity of including that information in there. They also failed to actually put the information I'd given them about An Heir to Murder in there. As I said, they telephoned me and asked me questions about Our Doris and made it sound as though I was writing something incredibly trivial and as though I wasn't serious about this. And that's my problem with it. It reads as though I found the tone of this story incredibly patronising. They included sentences that I had never said, with words that, whilst I would use them, I didn't use them here. They even mentioned my grandmother by name, which is no problem. Like I say, she doesn't live in this area, but the Our Doris stories were not inspired by my grandmother. What they were inspired by was a certain way of storytelling that I'd found in listening to the way people tell stories. And they've said that I was interested by the way my nan's generation told stories, and the way she spoke to her friends, and that was never the case. One, I never actually met any of my grandmother's friends. I actually said family members. It just makes no sense to include that information and then get it wrong. So I'm just a bit narked about that, and I'm also a bit frustrated by the fact that they said I wrote this book for a certain number of years. I gave them that certain number. They just included terminology that I wouldn't use, and it didn't sound professional. And then there was a grammatical error in the final paragraph that I just feel like looks bad on me, as well as making them look bad too. So not here for it, not happy about it, but it's there, and hopefully it brings me some more publicity, and hopefully it doesn't have people thinking that I'm a bit inept, because to me that's what it read like. It read like I didn't know what I was doing, and that irks me. Today my plans are to go and work some more on the final Doris book. I am still waiting for my author copies of this book to arrive. There are 2 open mics on tonight that I could attend, but I don't think I'm going to. I'm enjoying going to ground, kind of. I'm finding that as the launch week approaches, I'm getting more worrisome. I have this event at Wilmslow Library on Tuesday, and I've yet to figure out the drive, and not knowing how long it'll take me to get there or where the library is has me fearing somewhat. I like to know where I'm going. That's me for the day. It's Friday, I'm back at work, and I'll have to be incredibly quick because I started leaving things a bit later until I left home because I overslept a few weeks ago and realised that I actually could do that and there was the time for that without getting incredibly worried. However, I didn't know they had temporary traffic lights. This is a 20-minute journey and it took me 10 minutes from an area that usually only takes me a minute because of these temporary traffic lights that are basically gridlocked the entirety of this town. Firstly, I am going to apologise but also thank Abby Reid for allowing me to give up on Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. I've spoken about this book enough that you know I haven't been enjoying it that much. It isn't for me. It's got its fans, I'm not one of them. That's about as far as it goes. I probably should have worn my hat because I've worn my hat and it's given me very flat hair indeed, and I'm not happy about it. Not gonna lie, not happy about it. Especially this bit where it looks like I'm balding. Maybe I'm balding, maybe I'm turning into my father. I don't know. But yes, my apologies to Abby for not continuing with this buddy read, but last night she finally just bit the bullet and said to me, do you want to give up? I'd had to return the book to the library, as aforementioned, because someone had reserved it, and I'd downloaded the audiobook ready to go, and she said, why don't you just give up on it? And I feel like it was one of those moments where, similar to when a mother is trying to drag their child around a supermarket, and she's like, you know what, just go and sit in the car. You're not helping me, get out of here. So thank you to Abby for giving me the permission to give up on this book, but also my apologies that I did not like this book and maybe ruined your reading enjoyment of it. Yesterday I didn't update you at all simply because I was busy, mate. I discovered that the Northern Writers Awards closed for submissions last night, and I thought that I really wanted to enter for the first time ever. I keep thinking about it every year, so I just thought that, you know, I have enough of a body of work that I could submit to these people, so I did that, and that took a lot longer than I anticipated. That was that, and then when I got home, my mum was going on about me going to my nan's with her, so that happened. And I'd taken some books out the library, so I took the next Nicci French one with me, but I didn't get any reading done. We were only there for about an hour. It turned out my nan didn't need any shopping, so we took her to McDonald's, of which I did not partake, so I was particularly hungry when I got home. I went home, made some tea, finally sat down to read some more of Patsy at about 10 o'clock. Read that for the final hour of the day. And then I went to bed and I went to sleep. And honestly, it was one of those nights, like, I awoke at 12:15 and I thought, oh my lord, it's still dark. I must be completely rested. It must be time to get up. I could have got up then. And I looked at the clock, it said 12:15. I was like, oh, I've got another 7 hours here. And I just kept dozing back off, and then I'd wake up a certain amount of hours later and be like, really? There's more time here? I even remember waking up at one point thinking, I don't want to get up yet. And when I looked at the clock, it was only 4 in the morning. And I just thought, this is great, this is. Obviously, I know that I wake up more when I'm due to come to work. In fact, oftentimes I don't sleep at all, so that was fine. But today, I am at work. Oh, I also had the writers group yesterday, where I actually led the writers group, I should say that. And the person who was supposed to lead it unfortunately fell down the stairs, so was unable to. So I covered for him, and they did not get a good workshop. I have said it before, and I said it to them. If you come to a workshop run by me, it is going to be incredibly relaxed and lackadaisical, and if you get anything good out of the workshop or worthwhile, I would be surprised. So I started off by having everyone tell me what they were currently working on, what their plans for the year were. Probably something I should have done back in January, but who cares? And then after an hour, I didn't expect it to take so long. After an hour, we had the tea as we normally do, and then I had them write something based on something from Facebook on Sunday. I said something about very scary is the heron, and someone said it sounded like a writing prompt. So I used it as a writing prompt because I went completely unprepared for this. I do not prepare for writing workshops. It went well. Some people seemed to think it was okay. There are some people there who I think are just kind to me and were like, we'll humour Charlie. He has a book coming out next week. I hope you don't mind me going on about that so much, but I do. It's coming out on Wednesday. Oh, there's a big people carrier here. What do we think he's here for? Do we think he's just going to dump a load of stuff outside my shop? Well, I'll continue talking to you because you'll probably think I'm on FaceTime. People do that nowadays. They think I'm on FaceTime. Oh my lord, I've just remembered something. As you know, sometimes when I'm stuck in traffic, I'll observe the drivers in the opposite lane to see what they're doing. I like to see a singer. I got more than that today. I got a singer. I got a woman properly party rocking it. She was bopping. She was dancing. She was going for it, man. Oh my lord. I was thrilled. I was just smiling in my car as I watched her in the traffic, just, moving her arms about, singing along. It was properly fantastic. And that is the kind of attitude everyone should go into their day with. And that's me tonight. Well, as I say, Patsy, writing, editing, sorted. And I'll see thee when I see thee. Perhaps it's a thing that on a Saturday I like to wear a bulky red jumper. We are ending this vlog somewhat more ill-humoured than we went into this vlog. I should just say week, really. Basically, there was one of those nice little familial arguments yesterday that has resulted in a few people feeling somewhat annoyed with one person, and the one person who we've grown frustrated with acting as though it's our fault. And yes, some people could call this victim blaming, but there's no victim here. I think in families these arguments tend to happen when there are certain concerns. And I imagine we'll get over it at some point, but it was one of those rows where you just go to bed feeling bad, you wake up feeling bad, and you drive to work feeling bad. Not bad in like a I did something wrong sense, bad in a sad sense. A bit maudlin, melancholy, that sort of thing. That's that really. I went home like I said I'd go home, and the traffic lights weren't there going back. However, someone had broken down, and so traffic was backed all the way up past a roundabout, but because it was past this roundabout, I was able to sneak in and get onto the road I needed to be on, so that was fine. Got home, made tea, watched Gavin and Stacey, and watched a bit of YouTube to avoid having to talk to family after the row. Then everyone went to bed. I watched an episode of Bob's Burgers and went to bed myself, so none of the reading that I said would happen happened. I am not sure how work's going to be today, simply because last Saturday they did really well and had a huge rush on and made a lot of money, but will they do the same today? People are worried about this storm coming. I could tell they were worried yesterday because they were buying books by the dozen, and people don't tend to do that. We do well off our books, but they never seem to buy them in the amounts they were buying them yesterday. And so I think that it was a poor weather day, and people were worried about what they'd get up to this weekend if this storm did come, so they were battening down the hatches and purchasing some books. That's my week. Going forward into the next week, I'm about to release a book, and I'm a tiny bit terrified about that, but that's all for another video. I hope that you have got something out of this video besides sheer boredom. And until next time, that is all.